Alright people, I did say on my Can Game Sonic time travel video that I would go over some overblown quotes and moments from the Sonic games, which will include things with cutscenes, gameplay, and even the manuals. Since this is about overboard quotes, yes, I'm actually referring to fan theories and interpretations of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, and only about the official game canon series, which means no Sonic Boom, no Sonic cartoons, no Sonic X, no Archie Sonic, and of course, no movie Sonic. I'm going to go through a list of feats and quotes that have overblown fan theories, and I know I've covered some of them in my previous videos, but I will go into further detail for each one, and most are about Sonic in his base form. I'll start with what Sonic actually can do in his base form. For example, can Sonic go faster than light speed in base form? Well, evidently, yes, he can. Not just with a light speed dash, but also with his boost to go beyond that. And although this may be based on anecdotal evidence, I'm going to say that his top speed in base form is 9 times faster than light. Let's go over Animation Rewind's video where he talks about base Sonic's speed, which is one of the first things I talked about, so let's play the clip.
Basically, Tails stated that both Sonics were fast enough to transfer matter from Limbo back to their original destination. In order to move from one dimension to another physically, you would have to be fast enough to create a wormhole. Now, to escape a black hole, you would have to be slightly faster than the speed of light. But to physically obtain one on both ends of the hole, you would need to go twice the speed of light, one for each end. And it took both modern Sonic and classic Sonic to do this. And they did in fact need each other for this to be performed.
So I think we've pieced together more of what's happening, and it's not good. When that thing goes through time, it tears space apart, leaving the areas empty and dead, and sticking them in this weird limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
Then I guess we have to run like there's no tomorrow, or there won't be a tomorrow.
Which means that Sonic's top speed in base is actually the speed of light. There are many sources that state Sonic can travel light speed through his light speed dash and throughout many officially claimed Sega sources.
I originally pointed out a problem with this video, but let's point out what he said right. When he said that Sonic could go light speed in base form, well, he's right. However, one thing that he says that I still have a problem, and I still stand from my first Sonic video, was when he said that during Sonic Generations, Sonic created wormholes, which nothing in the game says he creates wormholes. Speaking of wormholes, people tried to use this interpretation with another interpretation example from Sonic Rush, which I will get to later. Now, another easy theory to debunk is an Infinite the Jackal theory, which some fans think he's stronger than Solaris. For the sake of avoiding confusion, I'm calling him Infinite the Jackal, and everyone else should do the same, just so people don't confuse the character with a term for the number. Now, Infinite the Jackal, or ITJ for short, is a character that appeared in the last actual Sonic game, Sonic Forces, and is the main villain. There's a specific quote that Rapid fans like to use, and it's not an in-game quote, and some fans say it came from the manual, but this is also not true. I looked through every page of the manual, so that claim was false. The quote that they are trying to reference is actually from a website, not from the game nor the manual. But even if this quote was in the game itself, it doesn't say that it actually includes Solaris because of the specific context in the paragraph. Let's actually read what the paragraph says. Battle an all-star lineup of foes including Dr. Eggman, Zavok, Metal Sonic, and Chaos, leading up to a fight against Sonic's most powerful enemy yet, Infinite the Jackal. Now, most people that thought of Solaris just took this as a rumor and didn't want to touch on that. However, a few extremist fans actually believed that Solaris was included in the equation by saying that Infinite the Jackal is stronger than Solaris, but let's debunk this by focusing on the context. Extremist fans try to focus on these three words, most powerful enemy, but what they do not focus on is this word right here, the word yet. Now, let's compare this and change the sentence. If it said, most powerful enemy ever, Infinite the Jackal, or more simply put, most powerful enemy Infinite the Jackal, then it would include Solaris. But it doesn't say that. Let's look up the definition of the word yet. In the very first definition, it means at present time, so this could mean that it is only including the other enemies that are present in Sonic Forces, which is further backed up by how they are name-dropped in the sentence, which include the following: Dr. Eggman, Zavok from Lost World, Metal Sonic, and Chaos, specifically Chaos Zero. Also, if it really did include other enemies like Solaris or the Time Eater or whatever, then their names would also be mentioned. But in actuality, they are not mentioned, which further proves that ITJ's power is not up close to them.
Sonic, how I hate him. And all of that loathing has been focused into this invincible instrument of destruction. Every defeat, every humiliation at the Hedgehog's hands will be returned 1,000-fold by my unstoppable creation. This is my dream come true. With this invention, I can expand the Eggman Empire across the globe and conquer the world!
The boss means business this time.
The ultimate life form. Chaos Vengeance.
Space Desperation.
Supersonic.
Collision.
Untamed power of chaos and
Professor Gerald. The
Apocalypse.
truth about 50 years ago.
Sonic Adventure 2. Last episode. Wishes are eternal.
So most likely, not less likely, but most likely, the fact that it says yet, and specifically names other villains, then it is only saying that Infinite the Jackal is more powerful than Dr. Eggman, Shadow, Zavok, Metal Sonic, and Chaos. I say Shadow because he's also sometimes seen as an enemy of Sonic. Plus, to completely nail the head in the coffin that Infinite the Jackal is not more powerful than Solaris, nor the Time Eater or whatever, let me ask the question, has Infinite the Jackal completely swallowed every timeline along with the whole universe in a short amount of time? Has Infinite the Jackal do anything that powerful? The answer is no. So Infinite the Jackal is not more powerful than Solaris. To sum up the evidence, the context of the word yet is different from the word ever. Only specific enemies were mentioned in the sentence, and not ones like Solaris or the Time Eater. Infinite the Jackal showed no destructive feats that were even remotely close to Solaris. Conclusion, Infinite the Jackal is not more powerful than Solaris. Now, I'm not saying whether or not ITJ can destroy a planet, solar system, or galaxy or whatever. What I'm saying is only to confirm that his power does not catch up to Solaris. Measuring ITJ's power is a different argument altogether.
Well, you heard it, people.
Now on to the next example. Remember the black hole in Sonic Colors? In my original video I said that Sonic temporarily or almost outran the black hole and not completely. And this was one of the examples I used to question if Sonic really did have light speed, because if Sonic was light speed in base, he would have already escaped that black hole. To actually escape the non-orbiting gravity of the black hole, you need to be at least 1/3 the speed of light to escape it, and it seems that Sonic was barely lower than that. So I asked, how can Sonic be light speed if he didn't escape the black hole? Well, I did have someone post a good counter argument to debunk my point, and they said, oh, the reason why Sonic did not outrun the black hole completely is because Sonic lost all of his boost when he did the full color blast in the final boss. And this is true. Sonic did not have any boost to help him escape. So while this point can be used to help Sonic's speed, it also proves that Sonic's boost gauge is not just a game mechanic. So Sonic's boost is his actual speed stamina that he sometimes needs to recharge. That's just the first half of the black hole argument. Now for the other half, which is about durability. In the cutscene you saw Sonic get caught in the black hole. Well, some fans use this in an attempt to fuel Sonic's durability and say, Sonic can survive a black hole so he's nigh invulnerable. No guys. First of all, Sonic was saved from the black hole by the Wisps. Second, the people that claim Sonic is nigh invulnerable completely ignore that Dr. Eggman literally got sucked into the black hole way before Sonic did. And even so, Dr. Eggman survives and his craft is untouched, because the direct sequel to Sonic Colors is Sonic Generations when he encounters the Time Eater. Third, the black hole is made of hyper-go-on energy, which is the energy that the Wisps are made of, so this black hole is completely different. This proves that the black hole is actually a pseudo-black hole, and most people that believe that base Sonic can run faster than light also admit that this is a pseudo-black hole. Even Excalibur said this in his Death Battle Debunked video. So Sonic quote-unquote surviving a pseudo-black hole should not be considered an extreme feat. However, to conclude this theory, besides the lightspeed dash, Sonic can go lightspeed or 9 times faster, which is his recorded highest, provided if he has enough boost. The next theory to debunk is Sonic outrunning teleportation theory. This is something that fans tried to compare to being the same feat as Flash outrunning instant teleportation between both ends of the universe in a race. So where is this example that people have to use that Sonic is outrunning teleportation? Basically, it's a stage from the game called Sonic Generations 3DS, where Sonic races against Silver the Hedgehog. In this stage, Sonic has to get to the other end of the stage before Silver does, and this is where fans try to compare this feat to what is debatably the Flash's best feat, where Flash outruns instant teleportation between two ends of the entire universe. If you want to know more about this feat, click the link in the description that says, how fast is the Flash? Now this example where Sonic races Silver, it is one of the most fallacious examples ever because this is nothing like what the Flash did, which makes this a very poor example. For one issue, take a look at where the race takes place. Is it as big as the universe? Of course not. According to the environment, it is just roughly the size of a space station or something. The second issue is how far Silver goes when he uses one of his teleportation. And it shows that Silver's teleportation has a limited range on it. Third is how many times Silver uses his teleportation. He uses it more numerous than how many times Flash's opponent did. Fourth, Silver isn't just using teleportation during the race, he is also shown running and flying, which would assist him getting further with the limited range his teleportation has. Sonic is able to win because his boost outruns Silver's top speed. Fifth is how long Silver has to wait before he uses his teleportation again, which gives the impression that Silver needed to recharge his power before using it, which wasn't the case for Flash's opponent. Sixth, Sonic is not really outrunning the teleportation, because when Silver is behind, he almost immediately catches up when he uses it. Sonic is not outrunning any teleportation. He's running to get to the end before Silver uses his ranged teleportation. So this example is nothing close of a good comparison to what the Flash did. In fact, it's lower than a massive fraction of lower feats to what the Flash did. I've actually heard a rumor of one extremist Sonic fan saying that Game Sonic is stronger and faster than Archie Sonic. Yes, that's right. There are people that think that Game Sonic is better than Archie Sonic. Let me tell you guys something. If you think that Game Sonic is stronger and faster than Archie Sonic or anywhere near that,
you are a fucking psychopath. You are psychotic, you are a psychopath, you are a sociopath, and you need to go to therapy.
The next argument and example that fans like to use is the quote from the non-cinematic ending cutscene from Sonic and the Secret Rings. They use a quote from Shara, and she said this.
And so, the legendary blue hedgehog, having saved the world of the Arabian Nights, ran endlessly until he found his way back into his own world. Along the way, he had many adventures.
I already explained the basics of this quote in my original video, and I showed and said that this quote was in fact vague, and cultic fans interpreted this quote into Sonic's power and his speed. However, I'll explain this in further detail. Rapid fans have at least 3 different extreme bald interpretations for the Secret Rings quote. The first interpretation is that he kept running until he warped like the Flash. This is used to attempt to prove that he can travel dimensionally using only his speed. The second interpretation is that he kept running until he ran into the sky of the world of the Arabian Nights, entered its void of space, and ran into the end of its universe, and came out to the other end of his original universe, or got directly back to his home. The third interpretation is that he kept running until he reached infinite speed, making the magic send him home. The fact that there are 3 different interpretations, each from different people, proves that what Shara said is indeed vague. And it's ironic how these groups never see each other's interpretations to know what they're saying is different, which makes them intercontradictions. To also prove that what Shara said is a metaphorical statement, she says this.
Along the way, he had many adventures.
The fact that she says this proves that the statement, Sonic ran endlessly, is a metaphor and a vague quote, especially since how Sonic got back home is off screen. One person took Shara's quote literally and tried to say, Sonic kept running and running and running, which is false because again Shara said, along the way he had many adventures, which proves that Sonic took a break from the running. Speaking of off-screen information, this is also something I talked about in my Jenny XJ9 video, where people thought that she went the actual distance between 2 galaxies in under an hour, when it was off-screen, until the very next episode it shows how she got there using wormholes. Going back to the Shara quote, Ares came to my video and tried to use the feat to back up his video of Sonic running intergalactic distances, when no, the Shara quote didn't prove any of the sort. He admitted that the word endlessly was a metaphor, then said the word ran wasn't a metaphor, and tried to say that Sonic got home just by running. I say some possibilities of Sonic getting home would include Sonic finding a magical scroll, he could have found a portal, a magic carpet, a wizard to help him get back home, or something else. And then some of you people will try to say, nah man, it said he was only running to get back home, what are you talking about? Well, let's read the phrase again, shall we?
The legendary blue hedgehog, having saved the world of the Arabian Nights, ran endlessly until he found his way back into his own world.
Now this guy admitted that endlessly was a metaphor, then pointed out that ran is not a metaphor. But do you know what else is not a metaphor? It's this word. The word found. It says, until he found his way back to his own world. Found his way back. This essentially means that while Sonic was running, he was searching for a way back home, and not just running in random directions. To further prove this, while Shara says along the way, it shows a picture of Sonic helping other characters in the land of the Arabian Nights, so he wasn't running around in the cosmos of the Arabian Nights, proving the extreme theories to be ludicrous and unconfirmed. Plus, in my first video, some people were trying to cling onto when I said no one knows how long Sonic took to get back home, rather than how he got back. They believed I was saying that Sonic could have taken more than a year, which is absurd in itself. I never said that. To sum up this quote-unquote feat, how he got back home during the ending of Secret Rings is 100% inconclusive, and no one should use this as a feat at all. Which likely may not be something on his own. It is a contentless and contextless example. The next example is one favorited by rabid fans, and it's from Sonic Rush, the game where dimensions cross. But there's a certain obstacle in the game where fans tried to use this example to try to validate Animation Rewind's wormhole theory, the Secret Rings dimension travel theory, and the time traveling by only running theory, which I already debunked. There are certain obstacles in each stage that are available for Sonic and not Blaze. These are things that when Sonic uses his boost on it, opens a portal warping to a bonus stage. But fans tried to say that Sonic has the ability to open dimensional portals on his own without it. So where exactly do they get the impression that Sonic opens dimensions on his own? Ah yes, they cite the manual, so let's read exactly what the manual says. This is the page that they are referencing. It's about a special gimmick called the Special Generator. Under the title, How to Use the Special Generators, Sonic fans tried to use a second paragraph to try to prove that Sonic's speed by itself is opening dimensional portals, so let's ignore the other paragraphs. If I played Sonic Rush and just pressed the X or Y button without a special generator, would that happen? No, because again, it's under the topic, How to Use Special Generators. Sonic fans claim that if Sonic spin boosts around in a loop by himself, he creates a dimensional portal, even though none of the other games say he has this ability. This is similar to how fans try to prove how Sonic can time travel by only running. Also, note how the object is called Special Generator, not Rotator, because that context gives the impression that the generator is responsible for creating the portals. and that sonic speed is used to power the generator. In order to create the dimensional portal. The thing is that Rapid fans tried to only focus on a few set of words in this paragraph while ignoring the other information on the page. So was there any other game where Sonic dimensionally travels using his own speed?
Yes! Yes!
Because the amount of evidence people have to prove that Sonic can travel dimensionally with just his speed is the same amount of evidence to prove that Sonic can time travel, which are basically conveniently showing him using external sources. Basically, Rapid fans are cherry-picking and lying by omission with this example by ignoring the other information, when in fact they only use one piece of the puzzle without putting the other pieces together. There's some additional info I'd like to cover with the time-traveling theories, even though I completely debunked it in my last video. But there's one more thing I'd like to bring up, and it's on Sonic Generations, which I will soon talk about another video on it. Some people think that Sonic is time-traveling at will in Sonic Generations, but the real reason why is
So I think we've pieced together more of what's happening. And it's not good. When that thing goes through time, it tears space apart, leaving the areas empty and dead, and sticking them in this weird limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
Then I guess we have to run like there's no tomorrow, or there won't be a tomorrow!
not because he has the power of time traveling, but because the different zones are from a different point in time and they are physically next to each other in the white limbo. Remember, time does not exist in the white limbo.
What time is it? It's the exact same time as when you asked earlier, and it'll be the exact same time when you ask later. There is no time here!
For example, Green Hill is from the furthest past, while Planet Wisp is the latest past, which is the most recent. Imagine if you were in the white limbo with two historical landmarks that has about a mile of area around each one. Let's say the Egyptian pyramids from 1000 BC, along with the people that were there during the time, and the White House during 1800 with all the people that worked there during that time. Imagine those two different timelines were physically next to each other with just those specifically selected areas. That's essentially what's going on in Sonic Generations.
Thanks, Sonic. I thought I was dead, floating without a body in a black limbo. Ugh, I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks. When that thing goes through time, it tears space apart, leaving the areas empty and dead, and sticking them in this weird white limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
It's similar if you go into another realm and meet George Washington while he's 30 years old, and right next to him is King Tut, as he was when he was 15 years old. There's a lot of speculation of what's happening in Sonic Generations. Some are more accurate than others, and some are just blown way out of proportion. Which finally brings me to make a complete debunk to what is the #1 No Limits Fallacy video, which is also the worst wank video about game Sonic. The video made by Aries Scarlet, of course. However, like I said about Animation Rewind's video, there's one thing in Aries' video that makes sense, and it's when he says how Sonic restores the zones is by spreading kinetic energy.
Literally giving his life back. Now, Giving something the energy to move counts as giving it kinetic energy, since movement energy actually is kinetic energy. That's the direct translation and definition.
But everything outside of that is just straight up wank. Not just wanking the content of the game, but also the context of the dialogue. He doesn't say that Sonic restored the 9 zones that were in the white space. He claims that Sonic went through every inch of matter in his original universe. Every massive star, black hole, galaxy, void area, everything. And not just that, he's saying that Sonic did this in a short time, or the fastest in-game speedrun, I guess, and went over octodecillion times light speed.
This is not just an Earth feat because the sky was blank, which means that even the far reaches of outer space are also within this void. Time and space is a universal feat. The lowball point of supermassive black holes, like the ones that weigh the least, come out to weigh hundreds to thousands of solar masses.
A lot of boring math later.
That's equal to 24 octodecillion times faster than light.
All this guy did was calculate how much speed that something of Sonic's weight needs to go to spread kinetic energy through every piece of matter or inch of the universe. But what he did not do is actually prove that Sonic did that, nor did he prove that it was an entire universe that Sonic was restoring. The biggest problem is not that he just says Sonic went this speed, but the fact that he said that Sonic did this in his base form. There's also an inconsistency with him saying Sonic running every inch of the universe. Sonic had to go through 9 different timelines. Let's recap what happens in Sonic Generations before he goes supersonic. He restores the 9 zones with both himself and his younger classic self. Each takes place in a different zone, each from a different point in time, with Green Hill being the oldest point in time, while Planet Wisp was the most recent point in time. So how can he go through every inch of the universe when he has to travel to 9 different points in time? Also, the white space is like the erased realm, with the selected zones that Eggman wanted to erase, along with each of Sonic's friends, and replace them with his Eggman land stuff or whatever. But according to Ares, Sonic didn't restore the 9 zones, he restored the whole universe by running through the whole universe. Did you guys know that? Well, nobody knows that because the game does not say anything about Sonic running through the whole universe. Because nowhere does it say nor show that an entire universe is in the white limbo. Yet somehow these people are somehow fully convinced that an entire universe is in the white space along with the zones. That or either they have a strong imagination that overlaps them while playing the game. One mistake that Ares said is that Sonic fixed all time and space.
He fixed all of time and space by just running, bringing back color and life to everything, in a dead limbo universe covered in what is only known as white space. He literally used his speed to give everything the energy to move again. Everything within space itself was revived, and this is not just an Earth feat because the sky was blank, which means that even the far reaches of outer space are also within this void. Time and space is a universal feat, at least multi-galaxy level, because the human eye is actually able to view other galaxies without a telescope from the ground, implying these galaxies have also been halted with their power snuffed out. Meaning he brought them back too.
When and where did the game say that Sonic fixed all time and space?
So I think we've pieced together more of what's happening. And it's not good. When that thing goes through time, it tears space apart, leaving the areas empty and dead, and sticking them in this weird limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
Then I guess we have to run like there's no tomorrow, or there won't be a tomorrow.
Because they never said the word all. They only referenced to the zones that exist in the game, and to prove it with the context, let's use the evidence fans use.
leaving the areas empty and dead and sticking them in this weird white limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
Okay, so paying attention to the context, note how the younger Tails, aka Classic Tails, says areas. Not one whole area, but areas, which means he's using plural as in only pieces of the world.
Which means that even the far reaches of outer space are also within this void. Time and space is a universal feat.
Aries and other comments in his video assume that when the words time and space are mentioned, it refers to the entire universe. I ask you people, where the heck does it suggest that whenever time and space is mentioned, it automatically refers to a universal-sized feat? There is nothing that suggests this. Also, according to the dialogue, none of the characters say anything about restoring the entire universe, rather than just the zones present in the limbo. Someone in the comments tried to give me some links to try to prove that time and space is the same thing as the universe, which is false. The links he provided only say that the universe has time and space, but nowhere do they say that time and space is the same thing as the whole universe. Time and space are its own things, because again, in Sonic Generations, when it talks about time and space, it is referring to the zones being the space, and when in time they originally took place is the time. Remember what I said in my pyramid and White House example? To prove that it is referring to only the zones, let's listen to more context of the cutscenes.
I think I figured it out. Yeah, me too. Doubles of us, places and enemies from our past. We're traveling through time and space.
The very fact that they say places and enemies from our past before they say traveling through time and space proves that they are only talking about the 9 zones. Present in Sonic Generations. Nothing universal, no galaxies, no stars, nothing like that. Yet over 290 people out of 300 that watched this person's video take what he says at face value, which shows how cultic and impressionable the fan base is.
The ground that we can actually see that was covered still counts. And if any other ground was covered outside of the ground that we have actually been able to record, then that would actually make Sonic faster. I see no problem with lowballing his speed to be able to support and revive the whole known universe at least. And I don't even have those calculations. I don't have the calculations for all of the known universe. I just have certain calculations for certain parts of the universe. So even still, this is all going to be lowballed because Sonic has done more. The Andromeda Galaxy alone is over 2.5 million light years away. More literally, if he was only sending kinetic energy in that specific direction, he'd be sending it over 14 quintillion miles away in just a matter of moments. But he's sending it out omnidirectionally and affecting the entire universe. There's much more in our sky than just the Andromeda Galaxy.
Did Sonic run through a galaxy in Sonic Generations? Does anyone have any evidence that shows Sonic physically running through a galaxy? Do these people have any proof to show that a whole universe was grayed out in the white limbo for Sonic to restore it?
Yes! Yes!
Also, according to some comments, they are saying that it's an infinite speed feat simply because Sonic did that in quote-unquote no time, when the no time thing is not under Sonic's responsibility.
When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
because the real reason is that the white limbo is a realm where time does not exist.
Thanks, Sonic. I thought I was dead, floating without a body in a black limbo. Ugh, I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks.
Also, according to this person's logic, the 4 children from the Chronicles of Narnia have infinite speed just because they spent hours, days, or years and came back to the present time the moment they left the real world. Does that mean they did decades-long stuff in an instant? No, guys, no. That is not the responsibility of the kids. That is not the responsibility of Sonic. It clearly says that the white limbo is a place where time doesn't exist. The white space is doing that. Also, according to this guy's logic, Dr. Eggman has infinite speed just because he's able to move freely there with his other self. Plus, since the white space is a realm where time doesn't exist, it could also mean that it is assisting Sonic of what he's doing. Also, the phrase, "run like there's no tomorrow," is hyperbole. I also know he's going to respond, but he has at most next to nothing to prove any universal-sized feat was taking place. Is he going to use the backgrounds in the zones as evidence, when that is most likely a cosmetic thing in Generations? Because I am referring to the core area where the plot takes place, the white space, or white limbo, whatever you want to call it. Nothing in the game ever mentions anything outside of the zones, and clearly portals are seen for other stages. Plus, all of the zones combined are less than planet size, which is way less than half of a cubic light second in volume. Basically, a single zone appears to be the size of a city, but I'm going to say it's the size of a county. Ares also makes a hyperwank statement by using a no limits fallacy at the end of his calculation.
That 4.6 vigintillion still stands. So, how fast is Sonic? Well, this is only a small fraction of the speed he's actually able to put out in one setting, so truthfully, we still don't know.
Thinking time and space automatically means something universal in size? Boy, get that out of here! Another theory about Sonic Generations is the claim that Sonic resisted getting frozen like his friends did before he saves them. When and where does it say that because Sonic wasn't frozen like the others is because he has a magical time irrelevancy defensive aura or whatever? Nowhere.
When that thing goes through time, it tears space apart, leaving the areas empty and dead, and sticking them in this weird white limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
The real reason why Sonic wasn't frozen like the others is because it's nothing more than a plot device. Yes, that's the best way to explain it, because if the reason really was Sonic having some resistance, then one of the characters would have acknowledged it, especially the 2 smartest characters, which are Tails and Dr. Eggman, but they don't say anything about it.
When that thing goes through time, it tears space apart, leaving the areas empty and dead, and sticking them in this weird white limbo. When the Sonics accelerate through time, they fix space, returning color and life.
To further prove that Sonic didn't resist anything is in the context of the cutscene before the final boss battle.
I captured your friends, flinging them through time to bait my traps.
But the more your monster tears through time, the more damage you do to the world.
The world? I'm going to own the world when I'm finished with Sonic!
This context points out that Eggman never did try to free Sonic in the first place, further backed up with the "bait my traps" quote that he wanted Sonic to fall into the traps in the zones. Plus, he doesn't mention that Sonic resisted anything. One person tried to say that Metal Sonic, Shadow, and Silver have the same resistance as they assume what Sonic has. But the thing about each and every one of them is that they don't appear until after Sonic unfreezes the set of zones each are in. Especially since if Shadow and Silver were not frozen in the white space, they would have helped Sonic unfreeze the zones before he gets to them. But they don't. There's one more thing about Sonic Generations that rabid fans may use to try to attempt to validate Ares' video or whatever. They haven't used it yet, but I'd like to bring it up because I know they may bring it up. It's the manual, but it mentions the word universe once, but it doesn't say it again, and it's definitely not in game. It's in the prologue page, but all there is this. It's referring to Sonic's world, which is obvious. The white space is a different universe altogether, but nowhere does it say that the whole universe is in the white space. It may also mean that everything that Sonic knows and loves is thrown into chaos because the 9 key places where Sonic wins are important and vital to him. What else had crossing universes? Sonic and Blaze's parallel universes in Rush, but how much was being crossed? The 2 planets? Also, when something bad or good happens in time travel, it's not just a ripple effect, but it's all of them together, which include the domino and butterfly effects. Like what Whis in Dragon Ball Super explains about time travel.
Yes, even I assumed it was impossible for mortals to build such a thing.
I'm glad to hear you're impressed.
Impressed is not the word I would use, Bulma. No one can doubt your skill in accomplishing this, but that doesn't mean that you should have. Don't you know playing with time is a serious taboo? Huh? Time is fragile, and jumping through it on the scale you evidently have is strictly forbidden. For cosmic stability, time is only meant to flow in one direction. The nature of our reality, with all its interwoven systems, depends on that. When jumping backward through time, even picking a single flower, if it's the right flower, could have profound effects. An entire city could be affected. Change the right city and you can change a civilization. Change the right civilization and a planet could be wiped off the map.
And exactly what Tails meant when he said damage. Undoing the earliest good area for Sonic may also negatively affect everything else in the real world, but all Sonic needed to do was restore Green Hill Zone if it was the only one there. Only he should do that to 8 more zones that were planned to be erased. Because the reason why those zones are there in the first place is because according to Dr. Eggman,
it could erase time and space. I then had the brilliant idea to use my discovery to undo my previous defeats.
To conclude this, just because the word universe is mentioned does not mean that it refers to anything by its size. Plus, it is mentioned once, which is outside of the game, so no one can dance around the manual, because evidently only using the manual is confirmation bias. Now I'd like to bring up another example about base Sonic. A lot of the people that believe the previous theories shown fully believe that Sonic can run in space, and I mean the zero gravity vacuum of space. But there's something in the actual last Sonic game, which is Sonic Forces. Sonic says that he cannot run in space. Here is a clip and the dialogue shown.
Yes, they found out I escaped. Oh well, time to kiss this yawn fest goodbye. Whoa, we're off planet. I guess anyone who crosses Eggman gets a one-way trip to space. No way I'm sticking around here. There's nothing to run on.
So did you people catch that, or did you miss it? Let me show you one more time.
Whoa, we're off planet. I guess anyone who crosses Eggman gets a one-way trip to space. No way I'm sticking around here. There's nothing to run on.
Sonic clearly said something in the context that he cannot run in space. This is the context that most of these space void traveling theories that extreme fans believe are just silly and wrong. Sonic cannot run in space. And do not try to say, that's just info to guide the player or any of that nonsense, because the way it is worded is meant for Sonic himself. If this was Sonic X, then he wouldn't need to say this, because there's one time where he runs into space, although he takes a while to get back. Unfortunately, Sonic X is a different canon altogether, so we cannot count this. So who can really say that Sonic ever ran to the end of the universe? Which again, no character in any game actually said this. Speaking of Sonic forces, there's one more thing that people tried to prove that Sonic can travel dimensionally, and it's the null space example. Let's watch the cutscene and gameplay clip.
That? Har har! That, my spiky little trinity, is null space.
Null space?
It's a little something that the Phantom Ruby cooked up. A closed-off space where absolutely nothing exists. Goodbye, Sonic, my soon-to-be eradicated nemesis. Enjoy all the nothing.
This isn't where we were meant to end up. Let's head back. Everyone's waiting for us. Double boost! We've got this! Keep it up, partner! Nothing can contain the two of us at max power. Not even null space. Sup, everyone? I missed this place.
What happened, Sonic? You two just up and disappeared.
Nothing happened. Literally. Now let's track down Eggman.
Oh shit, they got me now. How do I debunk this one? Oh yeah, by doing research.
Here's some facts about the null space. It is a pocket dimension, and as you can see when it forms, it's almost like a black hole, and there's nothing inside besides the other things sucked in, and the other thing is the Phantom Ruby's power, because the endless null space comes from the Phantom Ruby. One possible theory is that the Phantom Ruby's power were holding Sonic and the Avatar in the null space prison, and Sonic and the Avatar, engaging the double boost, pushed through the power of the null space, and when they exited, they came out the exact location where they were sucked in. So even if this was a legit dimensional traveling feat, here's one thing that some fans also ignore, and it's the post-level cutscene. So let's listen.
Excuse me, boss?
It can't be! It's impossible to get out of the Phantom Ruby's null space!
Well, maybe by myself, but I had a little help from my friend. Something you wouldn't understand since you don't have any friend. Well, maybe by myself, maybe by myself.
So Sonic said, if he was alone, he may not have escaped. So does this mean that the other so-called dimensional feats, where he was by himself, he was doing it externally or unconfirmed? Yes, that's exactly what it means. I really want to talk about the other extreme theories about Sonic, like him being 4D, but I'm going to quickly cover it. If he was 4-dimensional or above, he would not need to time travel, and he would also not need to run anywhere. Plus, if something is multi-dimensional, they need to be born that way. Nothing ever says that Sonic gained any extra dimension during any point in time, especially since he needed the help of Shadow and Silver to beat Solaris.
We've got to defeat it now! No, it is a transcendent life form that exists in the past, present, and future. Defeating it here, now, would do nothing.
No, I won't give up. There has to be a way. If you say it exists in the past, present, and future, I'll destroy them all at once.
Certainly. It might have been possible if he was still alive.
The only reason why people think that Sonic is 4-dimensional is because they make anecdotal comparisons like with Solaris and other bosses. The other thing I'd like to cover are a few game inconsistencies, but I'm going to save that for a different video. So it's pretty obvious that these extreme fan theories are at least one of the following: fallacious, contentless, contextless, out of the blue, and anecdotal at best. This proves that these theories, especially that one video, are just blatant wank. If Sonic really did do these things in games like run to the end of the universe, run through every inch of the universe, time travel, and or warp portals by running, then they would have very specific evidence suggesting those things. But there isn't. At least 2 people made a false equivalency about my points by saying, "You're just like the people that say Goku cannot destroy a planet," which is not the same thing as what I'm doing, because there's evidence and specific context scaling Goku to do that, while nothing of the sort is said for any of the Sonic theories. That is it for the video, so if you truly believe that Sonic can do these things, don't show fallacious examples and just make up stuff out of the blue. Show true, rock, concrete, stone-cold hard evidence, not just a short clip of something that's likely hyperbole on YouTube that's poorly recorded. And if you don't have the evidence,
get off your damage control, accept the facts, and deal with it.